Welcome to Truth Uncompromised. I am your host, Rhonda. Join us every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Truth is peace. Truth is justice and freedom to love, live, and be. Music provided by SourceVibrations.com. I am love. I am peace. I am free. I have abundance. I have everything within me. For I was, for I am, for I always be. We are love. We are peace. We are free. We have abundance. We have everything within us. For we are, for we will always be. For Mother Earth is love. For Mother Earth has peace. For Mother Earth is free. For Mother Earth has abundance. For Mother Earth has everything within her. For she was, for she is, for she will always be. And so it is spoken. So it has been written, and it is done.
All right, family. Welcome to the Truth Uncompromised show. I am your host, Rhonda, and tonight is February 1st. We have a great show planned for you tonight. Tonight's topic is SheStory, the goddess factor. So we will go into some of the deities, the goddesses, deities, and what that particular energy, deity slash energy means. We'll also talk a little bit more about how the goddess got knocked off of her throne and her story hidden, and how it became his story instead of her story. So in addition to that, I do have a couple of follow-up items I want to talk about. We didn't get a chance to go over the pyramids are fake. I do want to go over that tonight because it ties into very closely on how the story got switched from it being a male-dominated society or a patriarch society versus a matriarch society. So with that said, I am going to bring on my co-host. Okay, I see you there, Brother Sean. Let me bring you on. Peace and love, brother. How are you?
Peace and love, sis. I'm well. How about you?
I'm good. I'm well. I can't complain. Just trying to see what the weather is going to do. You know how that is. 1 minute, you straight, it's warm, and then next thing you know, back below zero. So, Mama Earth is...
They
Go
gotta
ahead.
push this flu. They gotta push this flu thing.
That's true. They're trying to do it very hard, but those that halfway take care of ourselves and we keep that vibration level high, it's not going to impact us. But yeah, you're absolutely correct on that. So good to hear your voice. Let me bring on Sis. So just a second here. Sis Sandra. Greetings, Sis. How are you?
Greetings, family. Greetings to you, Rhonda. I'm doing good.
Sis.
I'm
Good,
doing really
good. Good. You sound good.
Thank you. Yeah, I had that little cold, and I hear tell it's aerosol they put out there, and they got it mixed. They had it mixed with meningitis, so that's why the people were dropping dead. Now that's what I heard.
Wow. So yeah, family, just keep yourself, as healthy as you can. Get in your fruits and vegetables, and by all means, keep your level of thinking on a higher vibration.
Well, I also heard that if it's viral, it's kind of bad news. But like coconut oil and garlic is very good for viral stuff and fungus.
Yes. Garlic, I know for a fact. I don't know. I think I was walking somewhere that I don't know had something on the ground. This was a couple years ago, and I had got home and saw a little ringworm on my leg, and I immediately remembered, go get that slice of garlic.
Rub it on there.
Put it right on that. Yep, I literally put it on there, taped it on the ringworm. Woke up, that sucker was gone. So yeah.
You can take those odorless capsules and stuff, and some of these people are recommending Allison C, or that's a brand name from a commercial from Ren's show, and it is antiviral. So these people who get those big headaches and that stiff neck, you better be watch out, because that's not the flu, that's something else, they say.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Sis. Very good point. And also, I know oregano oil is really good as well. You can buy that and put a drop or two in your water, and that'll help you as well. So, yeah, by all means, research the natural remedies to keep your immune system as strong as possible.
Right.
So, very, very good point. Okay, so you all know I added the new category. Let me get ready. Yeah. Go ahead on with the fuckery.
Indeed.
So, okay, so I'm going to start out, and then, we'll go around and see if anybody else has any go ahead on with the fuckery for the week. So now, I'm minding my business. This is my go ahead on with the fuckery for the week. So somebody hits me up saying that Brother Polite, and Poor Light is what some are calling him, got caught in yet another scam he trying to run, lying through his MFing teeth. He was actually here in Ohio, Brother Sean, in Columbus. And there is a project where they are building container homes. So, them shipping containers. So they're taking the shipping containers and building livable structures. Okay, so that's like a real big thing now. So he gonna take his raggedy ass on the little job site, claiming that it is his project. Did a Facebook MF Live video talking about it's his project, and he's hiring people. Even if you from out of state, he's hiring, and he can put you up for your room and board. to get on this project, paying from $15 to $35 an hour. And then he's also, and I knew it was some shit in the game. I said, well, if he's asking for money, that's a wrap. No, that's a scam. Yeah. And then sure enough, he came with it. Yeah, and we're also looking for investors so we could do projects like this across the country. So it wasn't even one day later before his raggedy scamming ass, put this little video up all on the people's job site, shouting out his boy, yeah, this my boy, blah, 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 woo-de-woo, this, that, and the third. So the real person that's running that particular project put his ass on blast and said he had absolutely nothing to do with that project, and that his boy that he had with him in the video giving the little shout out was just one of the workers / contractors on the project. And this particular person whose project it is, it sounded like a melanated man, and also said that he's going to get his legal counsel on polite. So that's my go ahead on with the fuckery. It's the same folks operating purely out of ego and greed that's just got to stay in the limelight to come up with a next goddamn scam. And if they put much effort into actually doing the work, they could really get somewhere. So that's my go ahead on with the fuckery for the week. I'll stop so give Sis and Brother Sean for you all to either give your own or put something on it.
Yes.
I can give one.
Sure,
I do know about
ahead.
Shipping containers. I don't know about polite, but those shipping containers turn out pretty good sometimes if they're done right. And it takes more than a contractor to do it. It really takes an engineer to put it together right, because it's like a puzzle, and they got to bear the weight right.
Yeah, it's no joke.
Yeah.
Plus, you have to treat it before you actually start building on it. Because, so, you have to have some mad skill to do it. It's nothing to take lightly, and I actually think it's a wonderful business to be in, quite frankly. But again, the fuckery on perpetrating, I just can't with these people.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But I do have one that I like to bring up, and the Congress just did the H.R. 242, and that is the bill to recognize so-called Black Americans, African Americans, that's what they call it, African Americans, 400 years of slaves.
What? Now, so say that particular bill again.
H.R. 1242. Now, doesn't that sound like 1492 in a way? But anyway, it's celebrating or commiserating our so-called 400 years as a slave in this country. And then if anybody falls for that garbage, then they're going to give up the heritage of already being here. Because them bad boys in 621 AD came over here and tried to take us down. And they were trying for years and years and years to take us down. They used to call us the Lamanite. Then they called us something people, not lioness, but some kind of people. I can't think of the name. That's what Columbus called us, And so now he's going to say all of us are 400 years a slave, but they don't tell that they came here and took us down and then start shipping us all over the country as slaves so they can break down the tribes that were very strong, like the Cherokee and all that kind of stuff. By doing that, they're not giving us our just due. They're not giving us as the indigenous people of this land and the owners of this land, because Mr. Trumpadump said that they're going to keep this land the way they got it. So, and I was wondering what that meant. I know everybody get mad at me when I talk about Trump, but, I'm not for him and I'm not against him. I just see what he does.
Right. You see the game for what it is. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And they all the same people. They're the 10 barbarian tribes that came and captured this planet. And they're Mongolians. My son said it. And I said, you're right. You're absolutely right. They are Mongolians. And they're the Cedar King, because they're Genghis Khan. And most of them, they came and wiped out all the civilization that was here and came with their barbaric ideas. And they're still barbarians. They're still fighting amongst themselves. They can't even get a thought without, somebody saying, I got this on you, But anyway, so what they're doing is making us believe a lie, because that's not true what they say about us. We were not all brought over here, and a lot of us were here many centuries before they came, in South Central and North America.
That's right.
And they are predators. They're invaders, and they're trying to say this was theirs. And I get so tired of hearing them says, I'm European, I'm European, I'm European. Then you need to go back to Europe, because this is America, they call it now. But you can hear the white supremacists, the Europeans. I say, are they listening to what they're saying? Are they really paying any attention? So anyway, that's my complaint. They're trying to commemorate our contributions to this country. Not that we established this country and they buried them. They buried all the cities, St. Louis and all those cities, they buried under mounds so nobody could see that we were here first. So anyway, I just had to say that.
Yeah, you bring up. I'm glad you brought up that this week, because last week's show we talked about the concept of a reset. And I kept saying, and I still stick by what I say, because I was playing the role of shit starter last week. So I still stick by what I say, that any Caucasian slash supposed European, and I have to put the supposed in there, talking about a reset and them being the distributor of said funds, it is to reestablish them to operate on this land. Okay? So it does not surprise me, sis, that they bring in this bill before I don't know if it's the House or the Congress. I think HR.
It's HR.
Yeah, House resolution. Yeah, so bringing it before the House, talking about they want to commemorate slavery.
Right.
Because, we're at that time now where we talked about last week on the, we were talking about the supposed reset, where they once again need permission. Let's be clear. They need permission from the melanated people to continue operating on this land under the quote Constitution, which is not for the original people of the Americas. That Constitution is the contract for them to do business on this land.
Right.
So all of the melanated people that fall for the okie doke of the 400 years as a slave, or Give me my white man, distribute my particular package to me. You are once again giving consent. Okay? But the difference this time is there's going to be a split, because there's going to be a facet of melanated people that don't fucking apply to me. You can take that shit up the street. I'm not giving you permission to do anything. You have no standing in law in regards to me. So I totally agree with you. That's what's happening. But on the flip side, as we talk about on this show every week, it is the melanated people's responsibility, each person, to know thyself.
Right. Know the truth.
We are in the age of information, so it's no longer acceptable to say I didn't know. So that's just my 2 cents on the matter. But yes, that's a good one, sis.
Anonymous has a video out there about a warning to the churches. And they get out there telling the truth on all these high and mighty churches about the fake gospel that was given to them to keep them slaves. And I just heard it. It's about a 12-minute long video, and it is excellent. Even I sent you one of Dabu 77. He's upset of how this stuff has gone down with these fallen ones, prodigy, taking over the planet. And it just really is amazing how they're coming out with all this stuff. And, of course, they're not going to tell who we are, because they claim that they're...
honest, it's not their job to tell who we are. It's know thyself.
Yep, that's true, but they are out there now.
And that's good that, and I like Dabu 7. I think he puts out some good work. And Anonymous does a pretty decent job as well. But again, they're not out there to put out there for melanated people. That's not their responsibility. But with that said, there is plethora of information available. So it's no excuse really for any being that's able to read, listen, and comprehend to not be in the know. It is by choice at this point.
Right. But you know how we are. We don't listen to our own folks. We got to hear it from somebody else.
Well, then that's on them. That's on them. And I'm not even saying you have to, and I've always said you don't have to listen to me. Shit, I don't give a shit whether or not you listen to me. It's not about listening to me. Do your own fucking research.
Right. Exactly.
Everybody is responsible for self. It's not the white man's job. It ain't the fake motherfucking poverty pimp's job. It ain't motherfucking Fox, CBS, NBC's motherfucking job, CNN. It is your responsibility. It's master self.
That's true. That's true.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, good deal, sis. All right, Brother Sean.
I go ahead with the fuckery. Black History Month, Black Lightning, and the timing of Black Panther.
Oh, yeah.
Again, pushing that black agenda. But everybody's, again, associated with Africa. Okay, now, in Wikipedia, Wakanda may have several meanings. One is comics, a fictional nation appearing in comic books published by Marvel Comics. 2, Wakanda, the name used by the Omaha tribe for Wakan Tanka, the great spirit of Native American mythology. Also, Wakanda's a fictional African people in the Edgar Rice Burroughs novel, The Man-Eater. Also, it's, let me get this right quick. Baby names mean female, origin native, Sioux tribe, meaning possesses magical power. But I think that he made it up. I think it has to do with Africa. It's divine, feminine energy.
Yep. And see, that's interesting what you just put forward. And we talk about this all the time, that whenever they put out these movies, and particularly anything that they're pushing as a blockbuster, you can always sit down, watch that particular movie, and you are supposed to be decoding. And I have to give a shout out and give credit where credit is due, because Dr. Phil Valentine taught that back in the 90s about, going to the movies, taking your book, decoding. And I saw recently where he was doing an interview with someone that said now we're supposed to be even beyond that. You're supposed to see what they're putting in the movies, decoding them, and take the appropriate action as well. So we are at the point in this particular age where the script that was written is definitely unfolding, and where folks are stepping into their quote sovereignty as a divine being, and nations will rise, but it's not going to be like what people have been programmed to believe that it's going to be, that you're going to have this charismatic leader lead the folks into freedom. No, this is going to be an individual decision, and you as an individual doing what you are supposed to do for self first, and by default that will be for the betterment of the planet / society and your people. So even just with something as simple as going to the movies, folks just take the shit for face value. They don't even do any research behind the scenes to see, okay, so what really do they mean by XYZ? So that just goes back to my earlier statement that people don't want to do any research. They want to depend on mainstream media, Hollywood, the church, the conscious leaders, the poverty pimps, everyone else they want to depend on instead of self for getting the necessary information that they need. So that is a very, very good point, Brother Sean.
And here go another one. Say Native American legends. Name Wakanda. Type North American creator. High God. Wakanda is the great creator power of the Osage, Omaha, and Ponca tribes. Wakanda is an abstract, omnipresent creative force who is never personified in traditional swan legends, and in fact did not have a gender before the introduction of English and its gender-specific pronouns.
And see, there you go. Just that quick, you've gotten the etymology from the three particular words that appear to be African, and you clearly show where they have the Native American connotation to them, as well as some of them also have the feminine divine principle. And, that's the kind of things that our people are supposed to be doing instead of taking what's in front of them face value. And until people take, and I talked about this last week, people will never be free until they take total ownership of self. So that is in regards to what is really true, quote, quote, history from a physical perspective and from a spiritual perspective, and going within by all means, because that's how you even will get to the other two to truly know what truth is. Each individual has to take ownership to truly be free. Because freedom is a state of mind. It's not going to happen because you have X amount of money. It's not going to happen because you sign XYZ paperwork and you join 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nation. It starts within. It's a state of mind. It's self-sufficient, self-sustaining. So, yes, very good point, Brother Sean. Okay, well, we're going to move right along unless anybody else had anything to put on it. And if you want to join the conversation, family, just press *1 to get in the queue. Oh, there we go. I see 773. Okay, here we go, 773. 773, your line is open.
Greetings. This is Jade. I called last week.
Yes,
and,
I'm
when
glad
you went
to
into
have you back on.
Yeah, when you guys went into overtime, I got bumped off and I couldn't get back on.
Oh, man, yeah, I was looking for you because I saw you back with your hand up. Okay.
Yeah, because I had gotten muted and then I came back in because I was trying to speak and I couldn't be heard.
Okay.
One of the things that I find very interesting, the lady that was talking about, the barbaric nature of the Anglo-Saxon and what they did. From what I was studying back in the day, they were supposed to have gotten rid of all these barbaric people because they didn't have no respect for humanity. They didn't have common courtesy. They pillage, and that's what they do now. The GCR and the RV, I think that's a distraction. They're trying to use the money because people, they use it like a carrot. Okay, here comes the Zim, y'all. It's worth trillions of dollars. If you buy the Zim, which represents us, you're going to get $10 trillion, and that's why they're waiting for the RV to come about. I don't think it will because we can't be giving all these Anglo-Saxon all this money because that's what they're doing now. They're siphoning our energy now. This is what it's always been.
Yes.
They don't want you to have no money, so they give you the illusion that they're giving you money when you actually are the money.
Yes, you're the currency. That's right.
We're the currency. And what they do, they monetize us with this transmitting utility crap, which is in Admiralty law. Admiralty law is negotiable instrument, bills of exchange, really fake money, and they need to back it. Even bonds have to be backed because we're the juice, we're the money. And we don't believe it. And it's hard to convince people of their value when they don't know that they're the actual value that they're siphoning. They're going in your back pocket, making it look like they're giving you something during an exchange. But basically, I think it's a farce, basically, and it's a very small part of the transition that's going on. It's not about a transaction.
Right.
And they're admitting who we are on some of these calls. I don't know if you ever heard of Dr. WC's call. There's a guy that comes on, and they openly admit, that they got the RH negative blood and that they're over here pillaging the planet and that their time is up.
Right.
And that the last shall be first and the first shall be last and that sort of thing. So we just have to, like you said, keep our mindset and our vibration up, because we fall into these traps because they're actually spelling on us. That's what they're using. And that's the reason why I watched that movie, Doctor Strange.
I love that
movie. It tells a whole lot. It tells a whole lot. They're spelling on the planet with words. They're doing it with mass meditations, which is the media, which is television. Because what that does is it gets you to believe certain things. They create a mass meditation on fear through the media to get you to believe whatever it is. And their time is up. Their time is up.
Yes, indeed.
You know.
Yes, indeed, brother.
If you finish with your comment, I like to add that the barbarians are not gone. They just changed names. And that's how they fool us by the media and give you a different paradigm to look at with the name changes. And then Trump, in his speech, got up there and said to the judges, they going to go by Constitution now. Now, you just mentioned the UCCs, right? The codes and statutes. But now he's saying they're going to go by the Constitution. Well, that's common law. So if you're going to do common law, it's kind of hard to do UCCs too unless you do like...
Constitution is not common law.
Well, common law is Constitution, but the UCCs aren't. Common law is common sense.
UCC is that admiralty law. It's the law of the sea.
Law. That's how they run this country, on admiralty law. That's why we don't get a chance in court. That's why we always get convicted, because we think it's all right to do things because of the Constitution. They replaced that Constitution a long time ago. But he is standing up there now saying we want all the justices and the judges and whatever to go by the Constitution. We're going to see how long that lasts.
Well, the Constitution that I think that they're speaking of, it should be the one for the United States when the government did not intervene with the people. It did not interfere. What happened was when they put together the second Constitution, and they got more than one Constitution, they brought the statutory element into the code, where the government is like a third party, just like in a marriage. They're a third party in your mix. You're married to your husband or your wife, but here they are with a trilateral kind of a hookup where they're the third party, interfering just like they do in feudal over as kings do. The government became like a king in feudal times where they're all in your business and they could do this and that to you. Over here, in the original Constitution, the way I understood it, was that they didn't interfere with your private affairs, and the government itself was supposed to be servants to the people. But that was a contract between us, the indigenous people, and them to serve. And they were supposed to break us off. They were supposed to break us off. When they got the land grants, they were supposed to break us off. But they didn't win no Revolutionary War. That's the reason why they still subjects of the Queen. That's the whole deal.
Yeah, they didn't win that war.
They're still, they're still subjects of the Queen. They're 14th Amendment citizens. They can only be colonists. That's it.
That's right. But and you know that, do you? You don't want to acknowledge that.
Well, I think the trickery comes into play. I'll even back up and make it even more simple. And I see you, Anonymous 111. I'm coming to you in just a second, sweetheart. I'll break it down even more simpler. When that Constitution was written, it was never written for the original people of this land. What the fuck we need a Constitution for? So let's just keep it real simple. We were not included in that. That Constitution was for them on how they were to conduct themselves on this land as they were doing commerce.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. It's only one part of the Constitution that had to deal with the treaty that we were to be involved in. I forgot which article, Article 6 or whatever, where it related to the treaty.
More research.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah. No, go ahead. I just want to say that.
Oh, okay. I'm going to bring on 111 Anonymous. So just a second. Anonymous, your line is open.
Peace, family.
Peace, beloved.
Peace. I just want to add a little input. I was listening to that speech Tuesday night, and you have to listen to the words real close, what he said.
Right.
He says that they are now functioning with, the key word was the original organic constitution.
Mm-hmm. See, that's the common law.
Exactly.
And also he was saying with words about building the military strong again, but the key word, he also said that they were on sequester and they had to get off of sequester in order to build a military again. So the key word is sequester. They don't have nothing. They own sequester. And so, a lot of the stuff, if you're listening and putting the words together, you can tell it's nothing but a dog and pony show happened the other night.
Right, that's all.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So again,
it's a lot of codes they use in there.
These contracts, looking to renew contracts and treaties, and getting the people to agree to use you as the currency. So,
and also, just like Rhonda said, that Constitution is a contract that was drafted for them. It's not for us. We supposed to enforce that Constitution when they break anything in it, and we ain't been doing our job.
Yep.
And you know what that enforcement is? Capital felony treason. A lot of people haven't heard of that term, capital felony treason. That's for any infringement against an indigenous person. They could be hung by the neck and left as an example. All you need is 2 witnesses. Capital felony treason.
Right. And seeing in that Constitution, they mention 2 parties now. They mention the party that's drafting it for them, and they mention the party who they drafted for at the end.
That's true. That is absolutely true. So, once again, as you eloquently put, brother, this charade still goes on because the indigenous people of this land, pretty much as a collective, are still classifying themselves like that Constitution applies to them. And when that continues to happen, you fall under those statutes and codes. I'm sorry, go ahead on, brother.
Well, Miss Rhonda, if you ask a lot of our people right now, just on a, just random, you ask them who drafted the Constitution, and right off the head they'll tell you that the European did it.
Yeah, yes they will. Yes they will.
That's what they've been taught. They say the founding fathers, and they talking about George Washington and those criminals.
Right.
We know better than that.
Right, and then we'll cuss you, plumb the so-and-so out. When you say, no, that it's not true, we drafted it for them, it doesn't apply to you, they will cuss you, plumb the so-and-so out.
Well, I get plenty of that.
So that goes back to each individual being responsible, because, we've all, unless you truly grew up with being taught this information, we were all one point in our lives when somebody hit us with this information, you had to make a decision. Are you going to defend it blindly based on what you have been taught? Or are you going to take a step back and do a little bit of research for yourself to even think, well, why would this person even bring this to me? That is called taking ownership and individual responsibility for self-knowledge. So at this day and age, the amount of information that's out there, It's no excuse for it.
You're right.
Rhonda, I had a question that I, if you don't mind, I wanted to ask the panel. I wanted to ask them last week before I got shut off. Okay, we know about the Moorish thing, and we're here first and all that. But one of the aspects that a lot of us had missed, not you, of course, because I hear you talk, is the aspect that we created all this.
Right.
We created all this. We brought ourselves down. We got the low self-esteem and the self-hate that created this because we're the root. But the thing that I wanted to say was, okay, when you say know yourself, because I do a lot of meditating, and a lot of us, and all of us, I believe, on this call, most of us, we are the ancient ones. That's the reason why when we heard the truth, it resonated with us. It don't resonate with you unless you're one of the ancient ones. So what I'm thinking is, because, see, what I'm doing, I'm investigating a group of people called the Mushaba. I don't know if you've heard of them. And they're kind of using a kind of clearing method, kind of like Ho'oponopono, where we want to clear out all our ancestors' grief and stuff because our spirits are troubled. And we got to clear that out. And the same way the guy, I don't know if you're familiar with the Ho'oponopono guy, he cleared himself and cleared out a whole lot of criminals and things that was at this hospital, I think in Hawaii. You ever heard of Ho'oponopono? Okay.
No.
And I think, well, what he did was he cleared himself and he cleared all these patients that were, they were sociopaths and psychopaths and killers in this clinic. And by clearing himself, he cleared them. So this group called Mushaba, this is what they're talking about. And I'm thinking that this is something that we can do when we clear ourselves. When we go inside, we not only do that, we clear our ancestry, because my father, briefly history, was a very troubled man. He beat us when we were young, and we were caught up in the religious thing. But I saw through a lot of that when I was young. But I found out after my father passed, and never talked about it, that his brother was hung in front of him in the South, and it messed him up. And it also messed us up. So that troubled spirit that happened during Jim Crow is still there, and we got to clear it up. But when we clear it up, when we clear ourselves up, we clear that up as well. And I was just thinking, since we do create our reality and we are the kind of root of this thing, if we clear ourselves, we'll clear up a whole lot of other stuff.
That's interesting. It's very interesting that you bring that up, brother, because I was having a conversation with this one of my sis this week, and we were talking about that very same thing, that, you know, once you get to the mindset of being a creator, creating your reality, that you're not only doing it for yourself, but you are doing it for your particular bloodline. So that means, you know, clearing up that trauma, as you're talking about. That's even clearing out the spell of poverty, the spell of lacking. So it's very, very interesting that you say that, because you, as that sovereign ancient being, are very, very powerful. So by you, as you know, some of the Moors would say, standing on your square, or in the spiritual world, we would say being balanced, staying grounded, you are doing that by default. So that's why it is so powerful of mastering self. So very, very, very good point, brother.
Thank you.
Well, yes, Ms. Rhonda, it's real important, like you said, to study for yourself, because even in the state I'm in, which is Michigan, by you studying, and it ain't hard to find this now, they have changed all this stuff up. They have, you know, they know that they can be gotten now. They have passed all on. They restructured all their laws. You know, right now in this state, it's their law in the state that you do not have to have insurance. And also, they cannot revoke your driver's license anymore and arrest you if you get stopped for a warrant or for a traffic ticket and stuff like that. Now, harming or injuring someone is different. And also, they have the law now that they cannot arrest a female if she haven't harmed or injured anyone. See, we went and got all these laws from the capital of the state and had them authenticated so that we can have this stuff. Because it's their own stuff, their own handprint that you can put right in the face. And so, like I tell people all the time, the stuff is changing in your favor, but you won't go check it out because you're too busy trying to live Hollywood for the weekend.
Or listening to somebody else, brother so-and-so with the paperwork that they selling you, and, you buying and filling out or showing up in court and then getting your feelings hurt. Instead of, digging deep and doing the research for yourself. Because I don't give a damn if you don't enter and overstand it, and if you don't put your power on it, it ain't going to work no way.
Nope.
So,
because why would I? Yeah, because like I say all the time, why would I give up an unalienable right for a privilege? That's not good math nowhere in the world.
Yeah, but most people don't even realize what that statement that you just said truly means. But if people, again, did a little research, did a little studying, it'll start coming to them very quickly. And, even if they start on that physical side, then they will start to connect the dots on the spiritual side. With me, it was the opposite. I started on the spiritual side. And then when I was introduced to the physical side of the statutes, laws, and codes, I'm like, but it all is self. You have to master self. That is a part of mastering self, the spiritual and the physical side. So, very good point. Yes, Brother Sean.
Okay, take it into aspect even the organic constitution. Looking at the timing of that, that's not what the Aboriginal people went up under. That was up under British nobility. British black nobility.
Agree with you.
The British Moors.
Agree with you. Yes.
So, again, that was something that didn't serve the true Aboriginal people. Just because we were all melanated, that didn't mean nothing. We was at war long before the Europeans got brought into it.
Yes, we were.
We had been at war with the British Moors for 300 years prior to Columbus and them coming over here. We had been kicking their ass.
Right.
So they brought in them savages for that specific purpose. But to even take it back even further, all of this nationality talk and paperwork and everything, it's just different levels of the matrix.
Yeah.
They're all corporate constructs, no matter which nationality you talk about. If we're gods having a human experience, to try and trace back your ancestry is God, period. What fucking rules do you have to follow? What fucking paperwork do you have to file?
That is
period.
So true.
You're playing the game and trying to use paperwork within the construct of the game, which is all a part of the program, period.
Man, you are so right. You are so right because what they do. Yeah.
You have to get in your natural self to be able to get outside of the game and know your rights as the natural man,
you
as
don't
the
have
God.
To know nothing. You are. You just have to.
You have to know
those rules of the game. You don't have to.
You have to know that.
No, you don't have to know it. They want you to know it. The thing is, the rabbit hole is all this information that's buried on top of you. Everything that you need to know is already within you.
Within you, yes.
The process
exactly.
is removing all that negative stuff, removing all the disinformation to find the truth that has always been there, which is you.
Yeah, you.
And that's what they call self-realization.
Naturalization, right. Getting natural self, yeah.
Self-realization is, resonating with that information like we did, because everybody, like I said, on this call is an ancient one. And, we did it because we resonated with the information because we already knew it.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to shove up all of that training because people do what they're trained. But we had that deeper feeling inside of us. It's something that we couldn't shake in spite of the education and in spite of the religion, because I came up in very strict sanctified religion, and it just didn't resonate with me.
Hallelujah.
Our parents really literally beat it into us. We had to study the Bible. It just didn't connect with me. I don't even mess with the Bible today because of that, because of the way they used it. So you're absolutely right.
Let's see, also take into account these constitutions and treaties and everything that we're talking about have taken place up under a patriarchal society.
Yes.
So it's all null and void anyway. It's done for.
Exactly.
People just keep thinking in terms of the corporation being done for or white privilege being done for.
It's all of it.
The whole patriarchal system with its religions, secret societies, everything done for.
Yeah, it's a wrap on that shit. Absolutely. And that's why, once again, last week I was being the shit starter, but I was doing that for a purpose to put out there that all of this talk of reset, et cetera, be up on game. Because, and I see you, 727, I'm coming to you, sweetheart. Be up on game. It's two fashions to that. It's a reset of everything. But be careful, because that patriarch society / corporation wants to stay alive. And it can only stay alive with your permission, because you are the currency. You move the current.
And hence the HR 242. They trying to throw us a little bone and say, "Oh, you poor little things, we're going to recognize your 400 years of service as a slave." We kind of reject.
What are they recognizing you as? But what are they recognizing you as? That's the question.
Something you're not.
So they're reinforcing an idea that you came from Africa. They don't want you to realize that you were here all along and you the money.
But see, that's another term that we should do away with as far as identifying ourselves as slaves. We're prisoners of war.
Right.
We've been at war
we're prisoners
all this time.
of war. It's in our own land. That's right.
But we're going through a correction. The universe is balancing itself. That's what the whole return of the ancient ones is about. It's rebalancing. You're bringing the feminine principle back. You bring the balance back, and they can't do anything about it, so they're trying to lead us and interpret things for you on something that's being inevitably happening on the planet.
Exactly, because, again, it's already happened on the spiritual plane. It is now coming into the physical reality. So it's already really a done deal at the end of the day. I mean, those of us that meditate and astral travel, you've seen it.
Right.
You've already seen what the future is. It's just delayed / stalling tactics.
It is.
And they're trying to control the perception. They're trying to control how you interpret what's going on.
That's a very good point. Very good point.
We lowered the unemployment rate of the black folks. I'm like, yeah, sure. That's what you want them to believe. It's a belief.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm going to bring on 727, but I'm going to leave open both you brothers' lines. You're free to stay on with us, or you can mute yourself as well. So let me bring on 727 right quick. 727, your line
friends.
is open.
This is Cheryl.
Hey,
good evening.
Greetings,
Thank you.
Thanks for being
Rhonda.
With
me.
Good evening, Sean. I just wanted to briefly say something because you're talking about constitutions and treaties. And these are trusts, they're contracts.
Right.
And contracts are made by one or more individual sentient beings. They're living people. They agree to what's going to be in the contract. They autograph it. They get copy of the contract. And only those people who have formulated those contracts are bound by the contract. None of us on this call were ever called in about any constitution or treaty.
That's right.
If we're talking tonight, if we agreed and we formulated a contract, it's not going to apply to anyone else who's not on this call.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we even still contending with treaties and contracts that were made for people who no longer exist? They don't apply. They can't. Our ancestors could not make a contract for us.
Yeah, they're not parties to it.
What they were parties to. We are not parties to what they
We're not parties to it
because we didn't agree to it. We didn't sign to it.
Exactly.
So it's null and void. They're all null and void, and they have this dangling over us. We think it applies to us when they do not.
Yep.
They have no authority and no obligation. And it's really time for us to wake up and forget about those things. We have to formulate our own new treaties and contracts. And the people that it's going to apply to, they have to agree to it. They have to sign on. And everybody gets a copy. And then it applies to those people and those, as we die off, when the last person's dead, the contract's null and void. Those people who made up those treaties and the constitutions, both of them, they're gone. They're long been gone.
Mm-hmm. And it didn't apply to us to begin with, like you said.
Right. We weren't even born.
Right.
Yeah.
Our parents weren't there. Our grandparents weren't there. That we, the people, did not apply to us. It was the people that existed at that time who agreed to those conditions.
You know, and a lot of our people in these programs say it's the charter that somebody who's long deceased put out there that says it's still valid, and that's not true.
I keep asking for them to produce the charter, and I have yet to see it.
Once that person dies, that contract is over.
It's over. That's right.
And people just keep playing that game. Our people play that game with each other. Well, so-and-so made this charter, and we're the beneficiary. No.
Absolutely we do. Absolutely we do. And then turn around and sell that crap to each other.
Right.
Exactly. A price, a good price, and it doesn't set you free. So, it's really annoying that people don't understand. You're not a party to it, so it does not apply to you.
Correct. Absolutely
Exactly.
correct. That's all I wanted. I'm listening and enjoying and learning, but I needed to say that. We need to forget treaties and constitutions that we had nothing to do with. There's no way that they could ever apply to us. That's why we're in the condition that we're in.
Right. You're absolutely
legally,
right.
They do not apply to us.
Yep. Now, you think their logic, just to add that in there. So I'm sorry. Go ahead on, brother.
Basically, I have a question to try to clear this up in my mind too about that organic constitution. Just like the goddess said, a contract has to be between two parties or more. Have to be two parties. Okay, on that contract, there's no signatures of our ancestor on there nowhere.
Nope.
So I've always been suspicious about that because that seems like that contract is fraud.
It is.
There have to be two parties involved to a contract.
At the minimum of two. And there were more. Were they, was it 30-some signatures on the Constitution? But those men went behind closed doors and made up this agreement between them.
There you go.
And they put in the clause, we the people. But the we the people, or they were the people. It didn't apply to everybody else on this land. It couldn't have. Those people were never called in to agree.
Yep. And that's why I said
they made the contract. They agreed to the conditions. They autographed it, and they each got a copy. Nobody came out and gave us, well, we weren't here, but none of our ancestors got a copy. None of our ancestors voted and agreed that it would apply to them.
Their signature isn't on it.
No.
There you go.
No.
Yep.
No.
See, that was with the corporation and the British Moors, and that was them wanting to fight to not have to pay the British Moors no taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they were hijacking their boats on the water. Those Moors was the real pirates. They was hijacking their boats on the water.
That is correct. That is correct. Y'all giving some true of the America's history tonight. Absolutely. You all are.
That's why that treaty was drafted. Yes. To tell them we won't.
Again, I ask people to please point me in the proper direction of it. And I, to this day, have not seen this supposed treaty. I've seen references towards it, and it was always somebody that supposedly and allegedly signed it that was from such and so tribe. And I'm like, well, that only applied to that particular tribe at that time. So I'm not getting it. What am I missing here?
And it didn't even apply to the tribe because all the members of the tribe were not there.
And that's a very good point.
You can't send one or two people to, like I said, everybody has to agree and sign.
Many tribes was here.
Right.
Yeah.
There was, about 5 tribes that went along with the Paler Nation, and the rest did not.
Right. Right. You're absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
And no matter what they did back then, it cannot apply today. And when we realize that, and also realize that this is not a country, all of these nations are corporations. Some were incorporated in the state of Delaware. Some have their number from London. They say a corporation is a person, and a person is an artificial entity.
That's right.
It doesn't apply to us. None of these things really apply to us. We need to just forget about it, and we're going to have to get together and create our own.
Yep, but it starts with self. Again, it starts with self, because if you haven't cleaned out your temple and from a spiritual perspective, gone within and realize that you are a divine being, and I'm going on by what Brother Sean was saying, what the hell do you need someone to govern over you?
You don't. You don't.
You are. That's why
I no longer go out and vote. I don't need to vote someone in to tell me what to do. And to make rules and regulations for me.
Exactly.
It makes you the 14th Amendment citizen when you vote anyway.
Well, as I said, the Constitution is null and void anyway. We're nothing.
We're nothing. We're absolutely nothing.
I mean, as in relationship to that particular, contract.
Right.
Right.
And even that was not ratified. I know people argue and say it was, but I have not seen where it wasn't ratified when it was, and then how could they amend it and change it because they were not the original formulators of the contract?
That is so true.
How are you going to come along and amend something that someone else did?
Right.
Well, like the goddess say, the rules and regulations is already in us, which is laws of nature that governs us.
Right. That's right.
True. That's true.
It's not
That's
man's
right.
law. Man can't make law. He the first one to break it for the ink dried. Nature's law is what governs everything since the beginning of time, and if there's an end of time. And man and woman have gotten out of touch with laws of nature and been messing with man's law.
True.
Exactly.
True.
And just to even put the both contract, physical, and spiritual into perspective, the only reason that contract should exist because we create the damn reality. The collective creates it. So if you believe you gotta vote, you believe you gotta follow the goddamn Constitution, then so it is. The reality is created. If the collective woke up tomorrow and said, "Mother, F all of this," it would stop.
Well, we keep casting spells and stuff when we put our signature to stuff. And that's why it keeps going on and on like the Energizer Bunny, We got to stop doing this kind of stuff. We got to stop giving them the power they need.
The spell starts in the mind because if your mind is conditioned to sign shit, you've already lost.
Yeah.
But you're spiritually grounded and you know that you are a divine spiritual being and no one governs over you, then there's no way you would even take those steps.
No.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Ms. Goddess. Wouldn't a contract considered between me and you, and what makes that contract valid is my word and your word?
Yes.
Because a piece of paper is not going to do anything.
Verbal. That's right. There's verbal contracts. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's the problem is we've been out of honor because it's all about honor. Doing what you say, doing it in a timely fashion. And people have fallen out of honor. We don't honor ourselves, and we don't honor each other the way we should.
Which
and
is
that's
sad.
What's missing.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that when we were in tune and in our divine capacity, just like the brother said, it would be a verbal contract between he and I. And the conditions would be met, and if someone could not meet those conditions, we would come back to each other, talk about it, and work out a resolution.
Yeah, word is bond, right?
Exactly. So we had already fallen like real in the dirt when we had to put signatures and, as sis say, casting even more spells to make each other honor what our word should have already been able to do.
Exactly.
So absolutely. Absolutely. Excellent point.
Well, we fell asleep and let a fraudulent system come into our land and negotiate and got him as the mediator, like we're incompetent and don't know how to handle our own affairs. So they kind of like a mediator in between our contracts, between our parties that we negotiate with, and they're just getting a free ride with, like you said, the funds. It's all about getting their hands on the currency.
Yeah, but a big part of that was us betraying ourselves.
Exactly.
Because, we the one brought this about. That's why I try to state.
That's right.
See, we got deep emotional tones more than any other people. It's called feeling tone. And when we get on the wrong side of that, it has catastrophic results. We fell out of honor because we have such low self-esteem, self-hate, whatever it is. We want somebody to worship us. We want to run everything. It's goofy. That's the reason why we got to have this correction, bring the female energy back in, create this balance, and the universe is doing it. You know, that's why they falling all over themselves, because they can't do anything about the inevitability of it, but they can try to control your perception of it. Because they want to still be in power with this white supremacy when all the dust clears, but it ain't going to happen.
Right. We are some stiff-necked people.
Yeah, because perception creates the reality.
Exactly. And we got to get in honor, because that's a big problem with the brothers. We get in this betrayal thing, and we got to straighten it out. It's up to us. Brothers got to work it out. I'll just put it that way.
Absolutely. And, you know, just from my perspective, from a spiritual aspect, you know, from the vibrational standpoint of the actual body of Mama Earth, she don't give a shit whether you get it together or not. She's raising up. So either you're going to be in tuned or get left behind. So all of the fuckery, the contract crap, the white supremacy crap, the patriarch system crap, as Brother Sean was naming all of these, the secret society crap, all that shit is done.
Yep.
And it's not stopping for anyone. So either folks are going to get in tune, master self, or get left behind. And the reality that they love, that they created. It's quite simple. A lot of folks are making it complicated for whatever reasons. To me, a lot of it is folks don't want to take ownership, accountability, and responsibility. They were really hoping on that Messiah or being the Messiah and running things instead of mastering self.
Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah. And the problem is, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead on, brother.
Who's talking?
Okay. The whole thing, what it is, look at the energy we put into something that's already dead. We sit up and keep it alive instead of just letting it die to death that has already happened. It's like we want to keep rewinding the tape, watching the scene over and over again, and suffering and the pity that we felt at that moment when we thought that we were helpless. Instead of understanding that at this time, while they're revealing that they have no power, and they're having a power struggle
with each
amongst
other
themselves. We're not
and
doing
it's because we're frightened of ourselves. We're frightened of ourselves.
It's because most don't know themselves.
Yep, they not master self.
That's true.
Most people really knew that they were, quote, unquote, God.
That's right.
Not a creation, but the creator of everything. You are everything. Why would you be worried about that? Why would you even put energy into something that you already determined was destroyed?
Yes.
You already determined it was destroyed. You said it tonight. Out of the very things that came out your mouth, you put it out into the universe. And now that you continue to put energy into it, you then keep it alive. You're playing the role of dualistic God. That's your higher and lower self. That's the inability to let go. That's the main thing we need to do, is let go. That take care of all of that. Let it go.
I agree. And see, people have to come back to understanding that the average person don't know what the highest degree they have is. And it's not man's degree. It's Yah's degree, which is common sense. It's common sense. Common sense comes from the Creator. And they even tell you that in the colleges, that common sense is the highest degree you could ever have. And it goes right over people's head. They're looking for something else special that's on a piece of paper that some man go give them, and they take and put it in their bosom, and they taking a hold on to it. It's like it's something special when they have the degree already when they're born.
Yep, it's master of self. You have everything within you. So very, very, very good. Unless anyone had anything else, we were going to get into the actual topic tonight. Although this all still relates, speaking on SheStory or SheStory, the goddess principle. So I can do one or two things. I can mute the lines, or I can leave you open and you can put something on it when you feel like you want to. Let me know what you want to do. I'll start with 773. You want me to mute you or stay unmuted?
You can mute me right now. I'm ready to listen.
Okay. All right. And thank you so much, brother. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Appreciate you, bro.
Yeah. Okay, my brother, Anonymous 111, you want me to mute you or leave you open?
You can mute me because I want to listen too.
Okay, brother, and thank you so much. That was a great dialogue. Peace and love.
Appreciate your contribution, bro.
Okay, sis Cheryl, you want me to mute you or leave you open?
You can mute me. If I can come back later.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, sis. Peace and love.
Love you, sis.
Ditto for me on everything.
Yeah, I know. That was a wonderful conversation. I'm glad we
had
it.
Great.
Yeah, because y'all was bringing that thunder, boy. Y'all brought a lot of stuff that maybe some people didn't know, and whoever listened to this in the future, they can benefit from it, so they can enter and understand that corporate side and tie it into what it really all boils down to and mean from a spiritual, divine perspective. Okay, so we're going to get into the topic of tonight, SheStory, the goddess factor. Okay, so my time is running short, so I'm going to have to put the pyramids are fake on the back burner again because I had some clips to share with you all, but I do want to get into a little bit more meat into the topic because we're probably going to have to split this show up. So we are going to start out with an article, and you'll kind of get the gist of where I'm coming from. So as I was doing the research for this particular show, I'll back up a little bit. My sis sent me a documentary on Netflix, and you all are free to watch this documentary. It is called, damn it, I know I have it. It's here, family. I'll get it for you. Don't have it right now. I know it's in my notes somewhere, but I can't find it. So anyhow, she sent me the Netflix documentary, and with the documentary, she sent me a snapshot of this picture. And she had to pause her television, take a picture of this image out of this documentary, and she sent it to me. and she said, "Sis, look at this." So the particular image that she sent, family, in this documentary, this Netflix documentary, and I will get the name of the documentary for you before we conclude the show tonight. In the image of this documentary, they were doing an excavation out of the waters off of the coast of Italy. And they were pulling up many other artifacts, but the two key pieces that they pulled up, it had my mouth just dropped. One of them was a solid gold head of Medusa, and the other one that was simply breathtaking. And if you go to the promo of tonight's show, I have that image included. Coming up out of the water was a image in solid gold of a melanated sun goddess. Was simply breathtaking. Okay, so she sent me this as I was preparing for tonight's show, and of course I had to watch the documentary, and so I so happened to also run across some research on where those particular artifacts came from that they were digging out of the water off the coast of Italy. Now, mind you, in the documentary, they did not give reference to where they came from, but how the universe works, and to show you how powerful it is. Just in that short amount of time, it was put before me exactly where those artifacts came. So we're going to start with an article on the deity / energy of Medusa. Okay, so anybody that you should be familiar with Medusa, I became first familiar with her. That's the woman whose hair is made out of snakes. Okay, so as melanated divine ancient ones, we should enter and understand that those snakes represent the locks of the goddess's hair. Okay, so just another interesting fact before I get into this particular article. You all remember the Clash of the Titans movie that came out back in the 80s? Okay, so y'all remember Medusa. Dude had to go get Medusa's head. Why did he have to go get Medusa?
She had power.
Turn people to stone.
Yeah,
turn people. Power. People
exactly. She was the destroyer, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it was something about Medusa that I'm like, damn, she bad as hell. Because I was young when that movie first came out, the little Clash of the Titans. I know they did follow-up versions, but I'm talking about the 80s junk. Okay, so I was young when that came out, but I was so fascinated by Medusa, and I remember one of my cousins and I, we had watched that movie, and then we had wind up going to the park. We took the younger children, because I think I was like 12, something like that, and we took the younger children to the park, and me and my cousin, we were so, and a girl cousin, we were so fascinated by Medusa. And as I was researching for this show, I had a flashback back to that memory of us in the park being fascinated by Medusa, and I literally remember what we had on, the smell, and even our hairstyles, because both of us had our hair in braids. We had our hair in natural braids. But here's two melanated women. Just watch this movie about Medusa. Nowhere in that movie did they reference that Medusa was melanated in any type of way. So my cousin made up this little jingle about Medusa, and she made up the jingle saying that she was Medusa, And she literally said, and don't you forget it. So we're sitting here clowning around, jamming with Medusa, and then I'm pushing my younger sibling on the swing and fucked around and got stung by a bee. So I'm saying all that to say, as I flash back, a long, long, long time ago, y'all, but anyhow, I said, well, damn, maybe the bee stung my ass to make me remember that particular moment. So really, really interesting. My little personal flashback experience with being introduced from a unconscious point of remembering that energy, that feminine divine energy that's represented in Medusa. And going back to what the brother was saying earlier, that we are the Ancient One's return, because something in me and my cousin, that day when we saw Medusa on that screen, we knew Medusa was better than the MF. And we wanted to be Medusa. So we remembered, we identified with that energy, but of course we didn't know why. Okay, so this particular article is called Medusa, the Dark Moon, the Libyan Dark Moon Serpent Goddess. And this is off of a website called Goddess Inspired Spirituality. And they put this out on May 12th of 2012. It says, most people, when they hear the name Medusa, instantly visualize a scary snake monster with a face so terrifying that just one glance will turn a man to stone. What only few people realize is that, yet again, what we are seeing here is a twisting of the truth by the Hellenic or classical Greeks. Medusa's origins lie in North Africa, where she represents 1/3 of the triple moon goddess. In pre-dynastic Egypt, she was also known as Neith. And in Libya, Medusa's homeland, the triple moon goddess was called Anatha. Anatha and Neith before her was said to have risen from the primordial floodwaters. Sorry, I'm getting tongue twisted. More specifically, in Libya, the birthplace of the triple moon goddess was Lake Tritonus, the Lake of Triple Queens. Ancient inscriptions about the North African moon goddess describe her as, I have come from myself. I am all that has been and that will be, and no mortal has yet been able to lift the veil that covers me. She was synonymous with Mother Death, for to see her face meant to have died. The Libyan triple goddess Anatha had three aspects: Athena, the maiden Metis, the mother, and Medusa, and the crone. Anatha's maiden aspect, Athena, was the goddess of the waxing crescent moon. Like her Amazon priestess, she wore a goatskin chastity tunic, which was the original Aegeus that would later be adopted by the Olympian Greeks for their version of Athena. The original African Athena represented independence, youthful exuberance, and growth. Her particular attributes being strength, courage, and valor. Metis was the mother aspect of the triple moon goddess. She too would later be adopted into the classical Greek pantheon as the mother of Athena, who was swallowed whole by Zeus while she was pregnant with her daughter. Okay, so pay attention how when it got down to Greece, all of a sudden Zeus came into play. Okay, and we're gonna get into the fuckery. Because I'm pointing out that's the fuckeryism right there. So anyhow, like like all full moon goddesses, Metis was originally associated with fertility and motherhood. Medusa, the crone or dark moon aspect of Anatha, was the most powerful of the three. She was the wise one, the keeper of the dark moon mysteries, the goddess of death and rebirth.
Come on.
Like her Amazon priestesses, Medusa wore a leather pouch around her waist that contained live snakes representing wisdom and renewal. She carried with her the original Gorgon mask or Gorgarian, whose purpose was to frighten off the uninitiated, and thus help protect the secrecy surrounding the magic of the dark moon. Okay, so that's interesting within itself if you think about it. So if you see, you could kind of see how in a patriarch system, how Medusa would be painted as the evil one because she was highly powerful and she was a protector of that particular matriarch society. Okay, and it specifically said that she carried snakes around her, the Gorgons, to frighten off the uninitiated. So meaning if you were not in the order of that matriarch society, you wasn't going to get in. Okay, so she was one of the gatekeepers. Okay, so it says the mask was painted red to symbolize the power of the menstrual blood. It had gruesome glaring eyes, barred fanged teeth, and like the Hindu goddess Kali, a protruding tongue. And we've talked about the goddess Kali several times on this show because Kali is known as the destroyer. Okay? If you go look up pictures of Kali, you will see Kali with her foot and a man laying up underneath her. Okay? So it is also said as we are coming back into the age of a matriarch society that all of these, because deity's family only means energies, okay? So all of these energies, the Kalis, the Medusas, they're coming back into play, okay? And Kali is known as the destroyer. She don't fuck around either, okay? So I want to throw that out there also. Okay, so Medusa's face was once synonymous with divine feminine wisdom. In ancient Libya, she was linked to divinity, healing, magic, and the sexual serpent mysteries associated with death and renewal. To invoke her wisdom, her priestess would wear Medusa mask and celebrate the sexual rites with the representation, with the representative of the sea gods. Okay? So also keep in mind that most of these energies, these goddess energies, will always represent the sea gods. Okay? And we should know what that means by this point. That's the primordial waters where life itself is created. So that's for each woman on this planet, meaning the birth canal, the fluid, And that is as well as us that inhabits planet Mama Earth. We are underwater. It is just a different density of water, okay? So anytime you hear women, goddess, deities associated with water or being referenced as sea gods, that is the reason why. Because that is a part of the feminine divine's physical and spiritual makeup. Okay, so Anatha and her three faces aspects was the moon goddess of the matrilineal goddess worshipping Libyans. Okay, so notice they said the matriarch, they just used a different word, matrilineal, goddess worshipping. To the patriarchal Greek invaders, she became the representative of her Amazon daughters. As always, much historical truth has been hidden in the classical Greek myths surrounding Athena, Metis, and Medusa. While Metis was swallowed whole by Zeus, the father of the Hellenes, thus passing on her daughter and her wisdom, Athena and Medusa were irreversibly split and made into enemies. Athena would become another token female of the Greek pantheon and would eventually be forced to betray her own throne itself and become a traitor to her sisters. Medusa, on the other hand, would be turned into a nasty, fearsome monster that would eventually be slayed and have her powers stolen off her to be used by her murderers. Okay. So I'm not going to read the rest of this because it just kind of goes into the whole Perseus story, blah, 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 this, that, and the third. But I did want to give you a real quick high level on just even in mythology itself, how when society worshipped the matriarch system and energies, how as the wars, as we talked about, as the wars started taking place on this planet, how the patriarch gods were put in place of the matriarch gods. And that was not done by accident. It was very calculated done because that changed the vibration of the planet and set the reality for a patriarch society. So I'll pause in case somebody wants to put something on it. If not, we move on. Go ahead.
I think I remember seeing that documentary. It was buried over by the Straits of Gibraltar. They deliberately buried all of those statues in the water, and I think there was French, what do you call them, divers that pulled those up. But you said that was 2012, right? So 2012, yeah, 2012, I guess, is when they started doing all this kind of stuff. That's the change of the age that was supposed to be part of the Hopi or something. They put that out.
Hopi prophecy.
The Hopi prophecy. So when they got that back up, it is starting to change because they had, what's his name, Napoleon, and all those guys went over there and they blew the nose off the statues over there in Egypt, and they buried all those artifacts in the ocean and blocked that Strait of Gibraltar with those things. I think that's where they got those from. So I saw that. I'm like, wow, look at, and plus they not only buried it, but they buried the fact that we had any powers at all as melanated females.
Right.
By
that's
burying
that point.
By burying that, they took away any kind of semblance of self that we may have had on this planet. But in 2012, that cycle changed.
Yes.
And they couldn't hide it anymore.
Yes. And I'm so glad you brought up all of that, sis, because we're going to get to where I can get into playing some of the clips on the pyramids are fake, because Brother Sean brought that to me. And, boy, he blew my MF and wig off. Do you hear me? Because I'm just going to tie it into what we're talking about tonight when sis brought up the pyramids and shooting off of the nose. Because, and you can get ahead of me by all means, and you can go to YouTube and do a search on the pyramids are fake, and it's going to blow your wig back. Because what you're going to find is that those pyramids, meaning the pyramids of Giza, the Sphinx, that shit is a hell of a lot younger than what they are portraying. So that puts me in the mindset. It lines up with the concept of falsifying the history to make this appear that this was a patriarch society, when in fact that shit, they started constructing that shit probably in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and the videos bust them out real good. So any of the artifacts that were found predating that were more than likely temples of the matriarch goddesses that they destroyed. Okay, and when we get further in tonight, we're going to go over about the Temple of Malta. Okay, which was actually MAL.
Yeah, I know where that.
Yep. So
we have some DNA over there.
Exactly, and that's actually where. And they didn't even say it in the Netflix documentary. And like I said, but the spirit and the universal laws ain't playing with their ass, because truth is going to prevail. So just by the fact in that Netflix documentary, them saying that they found this stuff off the coast of Italy, and I ran across the temples of Malta. I just did a quick search. I said, oh, hell no, Malta is right off that coast, too. Well, hell, that's the artifacts that they found. Okay? So these are the pieces that we are putting together now, and as the ancient ones, we're coming into remembrance, saying, okay, now we remember the wars that went on, because the first wars, as I said about a month ago, people want to think it was between melanated and Caucasian, and then some want to think it was Moors against the Aboriginals or the originals of the Americas. No, the first wars was man against woman. It was overthrowing the matriarch society into a patriarch society. And these are the things that are being revealed as we are going back to and as we are into the return of the matriarch society. Okay. So, next article is, and this off of AmazonNation.com, what happened to our goddesses? Male priests wrestled power from the tribal mothers and priestesses by organizing men into martyring armies, blessing their violence, and rewriting myths to exclude the goddess or declare her an abomination. The jealous gods became even more jealous and fought among themselves, and each pronounced himself the one God. Their warfare was unremitting until one devoured Nearly all the others diabolicize his few remaining rivals and proclaiming himself superior even to the goddess who had produced him and taught him all his ideas. And so the world was set upon a trail of tears, oppression, and intellectual error that prevails even to this day. Religion creates misogyny. Religion was and is the primary medium of women's spiritual, political, and social enslavement. Our culture has been deeply penetrated by the notion that man, not woman, is created in the image of God. This notion persists despite the likelihood that the creation goes in the other direction, that God is a human projection of the image of man. No known religion, past or present, ever succeeded in establishing a completely sexless deity. Modern Christians take it for granted that they were revered the figures of a father and a son, never perceiving divinity in corresponding mother and daughter figures, as the ancients did. Though Catholics still worship the goddess under some of her old pagan titles, such as Mother of God, Queen of Heaven, Blessed Mary, and so on, their theologians refuse to admit that she is the old goddess in a new disguise and insist on her non-divinity. The older concepts of the female Holy Trinity ruling all cycles of creation, birth and death in her Virgin Mother and crone form was destroyed by Christians' attacks on her temples, scriptures, rituals, and followers. The church declared from the first that the great goddess, whom Asia and all the world worshipped, must be despised, and her magnificence destroyed. They even quoted a scripture, so somebody will have to look this up. Acts 19, verse 27. Acts chapter 19, verse 27. So it's saying, and this is a quote, I'll go back to put that in perspective.
Let me see if I get that one.
Yeah, so I'm going to read it again, sis, so you can catch
1920.
all of it. Yeah, so it's Acts chapter 19, verse 27, and it says, the church declared from the first that the great goddess, and this is where the quotes come into play, whom Asia and all the world worshipped, must be despised, and her magnificence destroyed. So that's Acts chapter 19, verse 27. This is virtually the only gospel tenet that churches follow through all their centuries with no deviation or contradiction. It seemed necessary to hide the fact that Christianity itself was an offshoot of Middle Eastern goddess worship skewed by Persia and India. As a salvation cult, early Christians based its scheme of redemption on the premise of female wickedness. Salvation was needed because there had been a fall brought about by her archetype woman with the myth of Eve's defiance. And there would have been no sin, hence no need for salvation or Savior. So I'll stop right there, sis, if you want to read that Acts chapter 19:27.
Acts 19:27, I'm reading it from the Open Bible. It says, so not only is this trade of ours in danger of falling into disrepute, but also the temple of the great goddess Diana may be despised, and her magnificence destroyed, whom all Asia and the world worship. That was 18.
Wow.
Yeah, but you know what? They leave the Vedas for the Indians, but they destroy us. Isn't that interesting?
And one of the clips that I'm going to, if we get a chance to play tonight, if not, we'll definitely pick back up next week. She's going to talk about the Temple of Malta, and she's going to talk about the different deities in the Temple of Malta and how that translates into, and Diana was one of the names that she named as well. So I'm just kind of, to be real honest, blown the F back that you're reading that out of Acts chapter 19, verse 27. But why should I be surprised? But again, it was put right in plain sight.
You know, the scribes who translated the Bible, they were the Mongolian folks, okay? The Khazarians, the Talmudists. Because even in the Old Testament, they have it where they were priestesses in the Moabite tribe, that when Moses was walking and the men were Minian, I guess, or Moabite tribes, they were having, relationships with these women, and they liked them. And so in the desert there, they show where the men were frolicking with these women, because they were so disgusting that there was an edict that they can't do that anymore. And one of them was having relationships with him, and they stabbed him and her together, and impaled them. And from that point on, that they could never, ever deal with goddesses or priestesses of temples or anything like that. So that was put in the Bible, and it made all this kind of stuff, and you see it in Acts as well, that it made it taboo. You never can go in the temple ever again if you deal with one of these people. So when they transcribe this, and I want to point out too, the New Testament is in Greek. Well, we're not Greeks, but they have, and our people don't realize that our captors have changed the scriptures for their benefit to get rid of the female, those priestesses in the camp in Midian, and all the Dianas. They changed that. So we will everything about a woman is evil. Right. And she has nothing but seduction. Not that she had power, but she's a seducer, and she'll change you and destroy you. So they translated that in the scriptures like that. And when you were speaking of that, the article you were reading, I remember that back in Genesis or Deuteronomy. I think it was Deuteronomy, when Moses was in the wilderness with the people, and that's what they put in there. So women from that point, that the pen is a mighty thing.
Yes,
and they use pen to destroy us as well.
Yes, and I'm going to even add on to what you're saying, because we do know that the Bible itself has been translated and retranslated and retranslated. So we have to keep in mind, as melanated people, to even categorize our particular skin tone, because you had the melanated folks that are tied to this land by our soul, by our spirit, that enter and overstood why we must be in tune with the planet. And then you have the other set of melanated people, and that's whether you call them dirty Moors, whatever you want to categorize them, that did not feel the same. They felt that male rulership should take place on the planet. So that's what the first wars was about. It was man against woman. And when I say woman, I say even the melanated men that were in tune with the matriarch society. So that's what the first wars was about. That was across this planet before we even had the concept of other races, quote, quote, involved. Because, you know, it was melanated people that were the ancient Greeks, melanated people that were the ancient Asians, melanated people that were the ancient Persians, so on and so forth. So before
and they were the melanated priests. They were the priests, the men, the melanated.
It was the melanated men priests. Thank you. Let's be clear on that. It was the melanated men priests, but because before there could be the Caucasians in power, or what we know today as Asia/Mongolian or Indians, it was melanated first. So very, 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 very good point. So, okay, I'm going to get through this article, and then we're going to jump to the video. So, as a salvation cult, early Christianity based its scheme of redemption on the premise of female wickedness. Salvation was needed because there had been a fall brought by the archetype woman. Without the myth of Eve's defiance, there would have been no sin. Hence, no need for salvation or savior. So, excuse me. So right there, that goes to fuckery. Bringing in a savior, you know, and making the woman out to be the evil one. Okay, so it was a trickery on both factors right there. So it said, fathers of the church declared that fathers of the church declared that the original sin, the original sin was perpetrated through all generations by every woman through sexual conception and giving birth. So now I'm going to stop. How dumb can folks be? How asleep can you be? So if it's sin through giving birth,
how'd you get here?
Exactly. Okay.
That's crazy.
So woman's mystery, mysterious, devilish, sexual magnetism seduced men, and that's what you was talking about, sis, into the conspicuous that even within lawful marriage, there goes the fuckery right there, where I need permission to partner up with somebody, transmitted the taint of sin to every man. So said St. Augustine. And the church never altered his opinion. Okay? So going back to that high priest, that's where the fuckery began.
And that was Paul, you know that. I heard that Augustine was supposedly Paul, the character of the New Testament. Yeah. And he carried out that thing real good in the New Testament. So women were nothing.
And now, according to the quote scriptures, where did Paul wind up doing most of his ministry, and where did he wind up being locked up for a little bit of time?
In a jail in, what was that place?
It was Greece.
Greece, yeah. But you know, in the Talmud, they say, now this is what they say. See, Paul is not a real character, for real. But the Talmud in the Jewish Encyclopedia, I haven't looked it up, but they say that they substitute anywhere that the Edom was put in there as the people who was part of our takedown, the Edomites or the Khazarians, they substituted Rome in there. So for Edom. So anywhere Edom was, they put Rome. So Paul was a Roman centurion. So that means Paul was an Edomite, which is on the Khazarian Mongolian bloodline.
And it's interesting, a sis, and I'm not going to call her name out because I didn't get her permission, put one of the baddest posts out there. She's really, really been on her game putting the wisdom out there on Facebook about the return of the matriarch society. And she specifically, in one of her posts, I want to say it was either today or yesterday, and I have to paraphrase. Damn it, I knew I should have saved it. But anyhow, she said that any melanated man / more that supports a patriarch system is a Roman.
Right.
And when she posted that, and I paraphrased, but it was just that powerful. I'm not too far off with the wording. I said straight back, I said, damn it, she hit it on the head. She is absolutely right.
Well, you know, the Edomites would be the Esau folks and all that kind of stuff, and they would be the Khazarians, the present-day Jewish, like Ish people, and they're the ones who put all that in there like that.
Right. So again, like we've talked about several times on this show, and we even talked about it tonight. So us as melanated people, we have to really, really wake up and look at stuff for the way it is. Because a lot of folks that are melanated out here talking about they want to be free, or brother, sister, we need to do this, that, and the third, they're still supporting the same system.
Right, they are.
Anytime you support a patriarch society that suppressed the matriarch, you are a Roman. You are part of the Roman system. A.K.a. Babylon, A.K.a. corporate. So the system that we see today, quote, quote, white supremacy, was instituted by melanated folks. And it's the same melanated folks that support the system at the end of the day. We have to be real clear and enter and understand and overstand and see it for what it is and stop lying to self. That's the part of what mastering self is about. It's truth and all truth, not well part of the truth. Not that, you know, the white man's a dirty motherfucker, therefore I'm going to let brother XYZ off the hook. No, go to the root of the issue.
Right.
Look at the entire truth. That's truth. Okay. So let's try it. I'm sorry. Go ahead on, Brother Sean. Indeed. Go ahead.
It's also that they're not in power without our permission, period.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is no blame. We wrote this script. We had to teach them how to write. The Bible is translated in every language because it was a tool of enslavement and information.
Oh, yeah.
We just happen to be the last to fall here.
Right.
Because on so many levels, we still held on to our matriarchal ways. That's why they put so much energy into making sure we didn't know make sure we didn't know who we were, because they knew that we would never go along with any of this
in
our right
That's
mind.
right. That's right. Because it's against the laws of nature.
Exactly.
Absolutely,
I mean, all the rest of them had already succumbed to the patriarchal aspect of Christianity. They already been enslaved. That's why they come over here and fit in so well. It's why the American dream, so to speak, is so appealing to them, because they've already been properly indoctrinated. And even after all these years, what they call niggas still ain't properly indoctrinated, because no matter what they do, niggas just don't want to listen. They don't want to listen to the truth. They don't want to listen to lies. Niggas don't want to hear shit. Niggas just want to do what they want to do.
Yep.
Ain't broke, don't fix it, huh?
That's true. That is very much so true.
Even going back to the Cleopatra, how they made her into a serpent-like creature. She had snakes with her, representing wisdom, change, the Kundalini energy.
Yep.
That's why she was so powerful. She ran around with nothing but pure energy. And that had to be horrifying to them, to come up against a goddess or that type of energy.
Right. Right.
I mean, I guess that's who eventually APEP, they got the story of APEP from, because that was Ra's ancient nemesis. APEP was also the destroyer, the god of rebirth. All attributes that was attributed to Medusa was attributed to him.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Absolutely.
You know, the matter is still in her story. They didn't have no power for real, so they had to base some of their story off of actual power, you know, frequencies that we could feel and resonate with as actual powers, but we weren't able to attribute it to the divine feminine. And it's all being revealed.
Yes,
being
indeed.
Felt. TV can't block it out. Internet can't block it out. It's happening whether they want it to or not.
That's right. That's right. Indeed. So I'm going to get through this, and then we're going to jump into a short video that talks about Malta, and then we're definitely going to have to pick this up next week and get a little bit more deeper. So, but very, very good points, Brother Sean. Throughout history, we find clergymen advocating abuse of women to express their horror of female sexuality and their conviction that all women deserve punishment for the primordial crime that brought death and damnation to men. Adam, representing all men, was less guilty than Eve. And then we're going to break down that word Adam later, because that doesn't even represent men. But anyway, Adam, representing all men, was less guilty than Eve, representing all women. St. Paul even regarded Eve as the guilty one. First Timothy chapter 2, verse 14. The traditional persisted up to the present century, when the clergy, if not advocating active abuse of women, at least refrained from too much interference with it. Some clergymen have been found to be wife beaters. Many still counsel women to be subservient to men in accordance with God's will. Now, I'm going to stop right there and even add into this whole quote conscious community shit that has turned into a joke into the conscious community, because you have brothers running around vying for the motherfucking Messiah title, and 99.99% of them still have the concept of women being subservient to men.
Right.
According for the betterment of the nation, okay? So it's still the same mentality of a patriarch society, although this is a woman planet and derived from matriarch energy, okay? So even with that conscious community shit, it's the same fuckery of promoting a patriarch society. And we see through that bullshit. Okay.
Yeah.
So man and God's attack on women was not usually justifiable as revenge for real injuries. Therefore, the mythical injury of the fall was essential to the early theological scheme. The practical goal was not to prevent women from hurting men, but to prevent women from acting independently of men. And they go into the physical things, from owning property, money, making their own sexual choices, blah, blah, blah. But the real reason, as we know, was to suppress that powerful divine feminine energy. Okay? That was really the real purpose, to bust her down to being subservient and not relevant, so that patriarch society could be stood up and can rule. Okay. So I'm sorry, go ahead on, sis.
One of the things that they lie about is that Adam and Eve were told not to eat of the fruit. That's not true. It was Adam that was told, and Eve had not even been created yet. So that's what our melanated preachers tell our people, and then they tell them that a woman should be submissive to her husband, but they forget to read that a man is supposed to be submissive to his wife. And they say women are supposed to be silent in the church. I'm like, give me a break. They've been running this game and weakening our people more and more every time they repeat those lies.
And let's even... I'm sorry, sis. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no. Go ahead. I'm done. It's terrible. That's all I said.
Yeah, and let's go back to even the concept, because, somebody tried to bring that fuckery on this show about a woman being created out of the man's rib.
Yeah, that's
motherfucking again.
Yeah, that's not even true.
So the man was not here first.
Nope.
It's impossible for him to be here first. So that doctrine within itself
is crazy.
Was a lie to stand up a patriarch story.
Right. I mean, and Anonymous today on that one I was telling you about, they were talking about that. They were talking about the patriarch, the matriarch was here first and all this kind of stuff. And plus the fact, what God has to put a man to sleep when he can speak everything? So, I mean, you got to look at the stupidness of the whole story, but nobody pays any attention to that. He didn't have to put a man to sleep to take a rib out. I mean, give me a break.
Because he didn't do he. Let's start with that. It wasn't a he. So, but I'll back up. I'm sorry, Brother Sean, you had something you wanted to put on it.
Adam spelled backwards. Mother.
Exactly. Mother. Exactly. So even the name Adam within itself is fuckery.
Yeah, they just tell the whole story of life. But our people don't read really well. And he wasn't the first creation anyway.
Okay, so let me see. Where did I? Okay. Okay, so patriarch religion declared war on pagan societies where motherhood was once considered the only important parental relationship, where women owned the land and governed its cultivation, and sexual attachments were made and unmade at the woman's discretion. From a biological viewpoint, patriarch religion denied women the natural rights of every other mammal. So now let's get real. I got to get a little bit gutter with this.
Come on.
I choose you.
Come on with it. Come on.
Up your vibration. I got to look at your genes to even see if I want to bring forth a living soul with you. So this whole concept of a man picking a woman, bullshit. A woman is supposed to pick the men. That is how it was done in a matriarch society. And the reason it was done that way, because of the woman's spiritual attunement to look at your vibration, your DNA makeup, to see if you are a candidate to procreate with. And now we so fucked up and have failed so low where people don't even think twice about who they fucking procreate with. And that goes for the men and the women. They basing it on fucking body parts. Or material things. So you have low vibrational beings bringing in other low vibrational beings. Or a high vibrational being, sister that was suppressed, don't know who she is, procreating with a low vibrational, patriarchic, dominating, low-life motherfucker. That was not how this society, the matriarch society, was set up, and it was for that reason. Even the animals the women make their choices. We have fallen so low and allowed our mind to be so controlled that we don't even get that concept. We're not even taking seriously how we bring souls into this realm, whose DNA we're mixing with to bring souls into this realm. Okay, so it says female, the right to choose her stud, to control the circumstances of the mating, to occupy and govern her one nest, or to refuse all males when preoccupied with the important business of raising her young. Such basic biological rights of female were set aside by the patriarch human societies, although at the dawn of history the social role of the male begetters was very differently conceived, in a way alien to modern patriarch thought. Today's scholars habitually call all female and male deities of that ancient world gods, as they also call humanity man. Yet the supreme deity of that world was usually a goddess. The creatress, not creator, creatress or mother of the gods. And the very word man used to mean woman, an incarnation of the same lunar mother in its original language. Early Christian thinkers rightly perceived that destruction of the woman's goddess would mean a crushing blow to women's pride and confidence, since men's price depend greatly on their vision of a god like themselves, only better. Women were not called daughters of this god who gave men their souls. In the 6th century, churchmen even denied that women had any souls. Forbidden by Christian conquerors to express their own faith, the women of Europe eventually adopted the men's faith preferences. Sometimes they were lured by specious concessions, which were afterward rescinded. So there you go with the motherfucking contracts. Okay? Contracts by words. So that was the women agreeing to the fuckery.
Because that's who owned the land. That's who had all the power.
Exactly. So let's get on the we as women as well, and we know this today. We know women that will stab each other in the motherfucking back if it's concerning a man. Will not do the right thing, will forsake her children, will even forsake herself for a man. It's not about sisterhood. It ain't about none of that. It's about that raggedy, stinking ass, low vibrational man. That is a sister or being that supports a patriarch system. And she is known as a parasitic female. So let's be clear. We're going to tell truth, goddammit. We're going to tell it all. It is women that support the patriarch fuckery. And we are telling you that shit is over. We're not having it. Okay. I'm sorry, go ahead, sis.
As you mentioned that, it just, all these things that come to my mind is these women will kill their own children to be with a man.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll kill their own self if they can't have the man. And I'm like, are you crazy? Have you lost your mind? But because they use this game of numbers on us that says there's 10, 15 women to one man. So if he ain't worth having, it don't matter anyway.
Exactly.
But they just play with our heads in advertisement, and these girls go out of their way to change their body image to attract a no good man or a man that's good, but they don't stay good because when they're attracted to what you made yourself look like, not who you really are, to get them. And we all age, but they don't appreciate the aging of us, so they go to somebody else. So you can't hold anybody by a low frequency. You got to vibrate yourself and be a good person.
Exactly.
And not change yourself.
Vibrate higher.
Yeah, you got to vibrate higher. You know, and I there's a lot of women, girls, everything. They want to emulate these things on TV like that's real. You know, come on now. They're real people, but they're trying to seduce you into giving up your true self. So you think it's important to have this lifestyle that they say is good for you, and we fall prey to the Bible. We fall prey to the TV. We fall prey to the magazines, and we fall prey to talk show hosts that, you know, tell you how to live and what to do and all this kind of stuff. We fall prey to the computer showing us what we should be like. But we, first of all, have to be ourselves. Know thyself, you know, the natural person.
That's right.
And don't be this artificial person they're trying to make you into, because then they're going to turn you into an AI.
Right.
I heard, I heard they were complaining about the sex doll that the man is having, you know, and some women were upset about that. And I said, who cares?
Exactly.
If they're that low of a man, who would want them?
Exactly. But that goes back to women are supposed to be choosing the mates anyway. So, you know, if you want to play with your toys, play more with yourself than you do a natural woman or anything else, then you shouldn't even be making it on my list, right? So that's really not even my concern or conversation. But again, it goes back to we have fallen so low that we have no concept of the spiritual aspect of things, because we're looking for things outside of self. So we're looking at the physical, you know, what kind of, you know, money someone has, you know, what kind of body part that they particularly have. And then you have the flip side of it from an emotional standpoint, because I'm not going to even put it all on the folks that are getting their body parts altered and that's, you know, looking at the television to get a gauge on how they need to look and what kind of mate they need to be going after. We know that that's the populace that's right now that's vibrating very low. Let's get on these supposedly conscious motherfuckers. Let's get on that. Let's get on that fuckery. Because we have women in that particular set that supports the patriarch system, with the notion of this goddamn, what do you call it? Where they have multiple wives and all that
Polygamy.
shit. Polygamy. Polygamy, and this is what blows me away.
They have
polygamy, and the male can't even support the harem.
What?
It's very disrespectful and demeaning to the women.
They go for it, so.
And so again, I say, even with the quote conscious community, and that's far from being conscious, because you're not in tune with nature and the planet. You're supporting a patriarchic system as a woman. And we want you to know we see you and we're calling you out. So it's that same fashion as well. Okay. All right. So, forbidden by Christian conquerors to express their own faith, the women of Europe eventually adopted the men's faith preference. Okay, so we talked about that. The myths and secret of women's spiritual past were buried. Just as men buried the Sheila Nagig figurine of semi-pagan Irish churches, hoping they would never be found. And I didn't pronounce that right. They buried the Sheila Nagig figurines. So like Naga.
Mm-hmm.
However, what Christian historians rarely admit is that after more than 1,000 years of alternative violence and guile, the Western world still was not truly Christianized. The ancient faith persisted because every man was still born of a woman and nurtured by a woman. Despite the theologian's insistence that a father was the only significant parent, this was mere verbal learning as contrasted with the direct experience of infantile dependency on the mother. Okay, when it appeared at all, father love seems to have been a somewhat less satisfactory artificial imitation of mother's love. In relations between fathers and children, the more dominant emotion was fear. Men was enjoined from the pulpit to instill the fear of God into their children through harsh punishment. So even under this patriarch system, the men have been given a bad rap to become the enforcers, to instill fear, even to the point of their children. Okay, so that concept of, beating the wife, beating the children to keep them in line.
I'm gonna tell your daddy.
The road of the Bible was all for the purposes to prop up a patriarch society. So even the men themselves, unknowingly supporting the patriarch system, is being used. Okay. Harshest of all were the Heavenly Father's punishments. A terrible vision of eternal torture developed out of men's fear. The Christian hell was the most sadistic fantasy ever to masquerade as fact. Churchmen used it not only to terrify naive congregations into compliance, but also to excuse the torture and burning of witches. Okay? And if you do a little research on witches, you will find out that witches were really high priestesses. That's what that burning of the witches in Salem was all about. Burning high priestesses at the stake. Okay, so Inquisitioner said the eternal punishment of such heretics should begin in this life, continuing up the victim's death. The religion of the goddess and her sons and lovers, the old gods, came to be called devil worship because these deities were redefined as devils when they were not adopted into the Christian canon as pseudo-saints. So in other words, any of the goddess deities / energies that were not, their identity was not hijacked into Christian pseudo religion, they were all considered devil worshiping. The link between woman and devil in the patriarch mind was as old as the Garden of Eden story. It persisted even after the dawn of more enlightened age brought the decline of organized prosecution. However, the rack and stake were replaced in the 18th and 19th centuries by more subtle abuses aimed at suppressing women legally, politically, economically, and psychologically. Clergymen helped by opposing women's education and supporting all physical or legal measures for keeping women in their place. Okay, so let's be clear. All of the legal statutes and codes and fake-ass contracts suppressing women was once again to support a patriarch society. and from a spiritual perspective, to keep the vibration of the matriarch society lowered. Okay, as Sir Herman Bondi accurately observed, men made God their primary source for the common and undisguised contempt for women enshrined in the three great Western religions. The basics for the cruel, inhumane, and wasteful sexism still so rampant. Women's feelings of unworthiness and insecurity, even aberrations like misogynism and depression, often may be traced to training in a male-oriented religion at various with their own nature. Recently, some women have begun to seek better understanding of that feminine nature, buried as it was under Western society proliferation of masculine images and values. One interesting idea to emerge from this new research is if women's religion had continued today, the world might be less troubled by violence and alienation. Gods, including Yahweh, tended to order their followers to make war, whereas the great mother goddesses advocated peaceful evolution of civilized skills. Cooperation rather than exploitation was the matriarch rule. Goddesses worship usually entailed frank acceptance of natural cycles of sexuality, birth, and death, and maternal concerns for the welfare of coming generations. Love was not abstract principle, the love of God was to become. In the very process of worship, it could be direct, immediately, and physically experienced. Certainly, there was still a strong element of the Oriental feminist concept of the medieval heresies that aroused the ear of the church. Perhaps the most important part of any religion is the direction it gives to interpersonal behavioral patterns. The patterns evolved by women in honor of their ancient goddess surely deserve close study today. As one of the goddess scriptures pointedly said, what use are grand phrases about the soul on the lips of those who hate and injure on another? Religion is kindness. Traces of the kind goddess are still to be found in 1,000 hidden pockets of history and custom, myths, superstitions, fairy tales, folk songs and dances, nursery rhymes, traditional games and holidays, magical symbols, saga and scriptures, both original and revised, and otherwise, in addition to the valuable material recovered by archaeological and other scholars. Patterns emerge from comparative studies which can be fitted together like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. So kind of like what we've been doing here over the past couple of months, putting the pieces together. These myths and secrets are drawn from a more than paganism view. Biblical myths are especially significant not only because they shape the attitudes of Western culture, but also because they were written and rewritten during centuries of transition from matriarchal to patriarchal system. The later development of Christian myths contributed much to sexist thinking. In Europe, sexism was a primary product of the Christian church. Patriarchal religions like Judaism and Christianity established and upheld the man's world largely by an elaborate structure of falsehood. Some of the facts concealed by that Christian history have come to light in recent decades. Others are being kept secret even now by religious organizations still dedicated to preserving a patriarchal society. Laymen, and especially women, are theoretically forbidden to investigate them. Nevertheless, they can be found out. Naturally, the secret most deeply concealed by Christian history was the many-named goddess that the original Holy Trinity was created and governed the world, gave birth to its Savior, sent her tablets of divine law to the prophets, and watched over every life from the womb to the tomb, according to pre-Christian beliefs. Today, she is viewed as mythical, having been replaced by a god equally mythical but more acceptable to a male-dominated culture, who took over most of her attributes. It is not usually understood that the spiritual life of Western men, and especially of Western women, was greatly impoverished by her violent suppression. The unremitting warfare of the church against the followers of the goddess is a large part of what feminists now call our hidden history. Even though Christianity itself grew out of the once universal religion of the goddess, it was a matriarchal son whose bigotry tinged every thought and feeling with woman hatred. In the end, it produced a society in which members of one sect invariably oppressed members of the other, and both came to regard this inequality as a natural state of affairs, ordained by a male creator. Matters were otherwise in the pre-Christian world, where the creator was more often a creatress. Through making God in his own image, man has almost forgotten that woman once made the goddess in hers. Okay, so that is again off of a website called AmazonNation.com. What happened to our goddess? So we're going to be running out of time. We're definitely going to have to pick back up next week to part 2. I want to get into the destroying of the temples and dig a little bit deeper. So before that being said, I'm going to start with giving Brother Sean a chance to give some last words to the family.
Okay. Considering that we are the ancestors returned, that means that we've played this nationality game. All these cultures that we talk about in the past was us, and we should realize the mistakes we made from that. And also not to get caught up in this nationality thing again unless you want to come back as another nationality, trying to figure your way through this again.
Right.
Your God, that's the only memory or event from the past that you should be trying to get in touch with, returning to your God self in order to get up out of all this. It's up to you whether or not you want to continue to play the game. But at least learn to play the game correctly.
Indeed, brother. Indeed. Sis Sandra, you have any last words for the family?
Well, it kind of reminds me of what Brother Seven said, that this is our proving ground here. This is where we either, like Brother Sean said, you either learn or you won't go forward to rule like you're supposed to rule, because we're here just like passing through and not trying to stay here. We want to vibrate upwards or change our frequency and get rid of all this old crap that we've done invented. We need to get rid of it.
Indeed, sis. I want to thank the family. I want to thank Sis Cheryl, thank our two brothers that called in and put something on it tonight, and, of course, giving much thanks to my brother Sean, and my sis Sandra for always holding it down. And thanks to all of the family that was patient with us tonight and hung in. We will definitely pick back up next week, and we're going to dive even deeper into SheStory, the goddess factor. So with that said, family, I love you very much. Thank you for your support.
Love you.
Okay, I'm going to rock out with some music, but of course it's going to get cut off rather quickly. So love you, family. Peace and love.
Peace and love.